Real men don't chase, they simply walk away in silence. Introduction: the power of emotional self-sufficiency in relationships. The pursuit of love and validation often leads to impulsive, reactive behaviors like chasing. From adolescence, we're conditioned to believe that the more you want something, the more you have to go after it. However, in the context of mature relationships, this logic fails. Real men don't chase. They simply walk away in silence, not out of indifference, but out of a deep respect for themselves and for the healthy dynamic they should cultivate with the other person. This video goes beyond the superficial concept of not chasing. We will explore what lies behind the true, emotional strength of a mature man who is secure in his own identity, and how he doesn't submit to the vicious cycle of trying to win someone else's validation. We'll understand that true emotional strength isn't about maintaining control or a constant search for affection, but in knowing when to step back to preserve your dignity and the essence of the relationship. Next, we will dissect the psychological and emotional principles involved in a healthy and balanced relationship, where silence and emotional self-sufficiency are more powerful than any desperate chase. If you have ever felt exhausted from trying to please or chasing someone who isn't truly emotionally invested, this content will help you break free from that dynamic. The chase. When the pursuit becomes desperate, the idea of chasing, when applied to the context of a relationship, is often misunderstood. At first, chasing might seem like an attempt to show affection or interest, but at its core it is a reactive action. In other words, a behavior fueled by fear, insecurity, and anxiety. When a man feels compelled to chase a woman, he's actually trying to fill an emotional void, a void that stems from a lack of self-esteem or self-worth. The psychology behind chasing and emotional psychology. Chasing can be interpreted as a form of emotional dependency disguised as love or desire. This behavior is closely related to the fear of losing validation. The man who feels he constantly needs to win someone else's attention or affection usually has a distorted view of his own value. He believes he will only be worthy of love if he is constantly proving he cares or is pursuing the other person. But the issue here is that this need for external validation is a clear expression of emotional insecurity. Instead of expressing genuine love, chasing becomes a game of psychological power, where the man submits to the desire to be chosen or to be seen as someone special. This is not true love. Genuine love is born from authenticity and mutual respect, not from emotional pressure to be accepted. When a relationship's energy is centered on the need for external approval, the relationship begins to lose its true purpose. Emotional self-sufficiency. The power of being whole without external validation. Men who truly know themselves and have strong emotional self-sufficiency don't need to desperately seek validation or affection. They don't let themselves be affected by the other person's uncertainty or distance. They understand that a healthy relationship is not based on the constant pressure to win the other over, but on the genuine connection that develops through mutual respect and a balanced emotional commitment. The impact of being emotionally self-sufficient. True emotional self-sufficiency comes from a deep self-knowledge. A man who respects himself and understands his worth doesn't seek constant affirmations from the other person. He doesn't depend on the other's presence or affection to feel whole. This doesn't mean being insensitive or indifferent, but rather being able to step away and maintain your inner peace when the relationship starts to become unbalanced. When you are emotionally self-sufficient, the other person's presence in your life is a positive addition, not a vital necessity. You can live your life fully without the other person being responsible for your happiness. This mindset of emotional abundance creates a solid and attractive foundation, as it communicates that you are a whole and confident person. Silence is a form of power and respect. One of the most powerful attitudes a man can adopt is to walk away in silence, without making a drama or demanding an explanation. Silence is not passive. On the contrary, it is deliberate. By walking away silently, a man demonstrates emotional control and emotional wisdom. He is not running away or ignoring. He is exercising a refined power to choose to remove himself when a situation is no longer healthy. When a man chooses silence instead of chasing, he creates space not only for himself but also for the other person. This silence often becomes a reflection of the other person's behavior. When someone walks away without words, the other person is forced to confront their own attitudes and choices. and this is a moment of deep introspection. Silence, in many cases, is more eloquent than any words. It allows the other person to realize the real loss and often makes them reflect on the value that your presence represented. By not giving explanations or arguments, a real man sends a clear message. I respect myself too much to continue in a dynamic that is not reciprocal. The paradox of silence, the value of absence. In a world where we are constantly seeking attention, silence can be a powerful tool. Psychologically, absence creates a space for reflection for the other person. When you walk away silently without demanding justifications or answers, the other person faces an emotional void, a space they begin to fill with questions about your absence. This void can be much more powerful than any argument or verbal explanation. It forces the other person to reevaluate their own attitude and confront their choices. Silence is not indifference. It is a form of self-control. It is not about revenge or contempt, but about having the courage to preserve your own dignity and teach the other person that you will not tolerate disrespect or a lack of reciprocity. The strength of emotional sovereignty, walking towards self-knowledge. A man's true emotional strength is not in how he deals with other people, but in how he deals with himself. Emotional sovereignty is the reflection of a man who knows his worth, who has clear boundaries, and who does not submit to relationships or dynamics that do not meet his emotional needs. This man doesn't depend on anyone to affirm his identity or his value. He walks away when necessary with the certainty that there is nothing more important than his emotional peace. He doesn't stay in a relationship where his own dignity is being tested. Acknowledge and grow. If you identify with this content and believe it's time to assume emotional sovereignty in your life, subscribe to our channel. Follow our videos for more tips on how to become an emotionally intelligent man with self-sufficiency and confidence, and how to build healthier and more balanced relationships. Click the subscribe button now and don't miss any content that can transform how you see yourself and others around you. Remember, true strength lies in knowing when to walk away, in maintaining your worth and dignity, and not in seeking validation at all costs. If you want to learn more about emotional self-sufficiency and how to live with confidence, subscribe now and begin your journey to a healthier relationship with yourself and with others.